I found out my wife was cheating when our child accidentally exposed her affair. My life wasn't perfect, but it was close enough. I had a stable job, a cozy home, and a beautiful family, a wife, Lisa, and our 5-year-old daughter, Emma. Lisa and I had been married for 7 years, and although our relationship had its ups and downs, I believed we were solid. At least I thought so, until one innocent evening turned my world upside down. It was a typical Wednesday night. Emma and I were in the living room building a block tower while Lisa cooked dinner. Emma giggled as she carefully placed a block on top of our wobbly creation. "Daddy," she said suddenly, her eyes twinkling with mischief, "Mommy has a friend who plays games with her too." I smiled, assuming she was talking about one of Lisa's co-workers, or perhaps a neighbour's parent. "Oh yeah? Who's that, sweetie?" Emma tilted her head, her little face serious as if she were thinking hard. Uncle Greg," she announced triumphantly. My heart skipped a beat. Greg wasn't a co-worker or a neighbour. He was an old friend of Lisa's from her college days. I hadn't seen or heard about Greg in years. "Uncle Greg," I repeated, trying to sound casual. "How do you know about him?" Emma grinned, pleased to share her secret. "He comes over sometimes when you're working. Mommy says not to tell because it's a surprise." A cold knot formed in my stomach. "A surprise, huh?" I forced a smile, my mind racing. "What kind of surprise?" Emma shrugged. "I don't know. They just talk and play games. One time I saw them hugging. Mommy said it's our little secret." I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Lisa and Greg? Could it really be true? Or was this just a child's innocent misunderstanding? When Lisa called us for dinner, I sat at the table watching her closely. She seemed cheerful and completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I didn't say anything that night, unsure of what to think or do. But I knew one thing. I needed answers. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed Emma's words over and over. Uncle Greg, our little secret. Lisa had always been good at keeping secrets, small things like surprise gifts or plans for special occasions. But this felt different. I wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding, but the sinking feeling in my gut told me otherwise. The next day, I decided to do some quiet digging. I didn't want to accuse Lisa outright without any evidence, especially since it could all just be a coincidence or an innocent situation. I started by checking Lisa's phone when she was in the shower. My hands shook as I unlocked it using the passcode I knew. At first, I didn't find anything unusual. Her texts with me were normal, filled with affectionate emojis and updates about Emma. Then I noticed a string of messages from a contact saved as G. My heart raced. I opened the conversation. The messages were cryptic but unsettling. G. Can't wait to see you again. Last time was amazing. Lisa. Same here, love, just have to work around his schedule. G. Let me know when he's working late again. Lisa. Will do. Miss you already. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My hands clenched the phone as I scrolled further. There were pictures too. Nothing explicit, but enough to confirm that G was Greg. Pictures of them having coffee, laughing together, and even one of Greg holding Emma. My stomach churned. I put the phone back where I found it. My mind, a whirlwind of rage, betrayal, and sadness. How could Lisa do this? And with Greg, of all people? I knew I couldn't confront her yet. I needed to know the full extent of what was going on. That evening, I made an excuse about needing to work late, but instead I parked a block away from our house and waited. My heart pounded as I sat in the darkness, hoping that I was wrong, that Emma's words and the texts were just misunderstandings. Around 8 p.m., a car pulled up in front of our house. It was Greg. I watched as Lisa opened the door, greeted him with a warm smile, and let him inside. My chest felt like it was caving in. I waited for 2 hours, unable to bring myself to leave or go inside. When Greg finally left, He had the audacity to kiss Lisa on the cheek before driving away. That was the moment I knew there was no more denying it. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't function, let alone focus on my job. Instead, I spent the day planning my next move. If Lisa thought she could betray me like this and get away with it, she was sorely mistaken. The day after Greg's late-night visit, I couldn't keep the truth bottled up any longer. I woke up early, my mind made up. Lisa was in the kitchen, cheerfully making breakfast for Emma, as if everything in our lives was normal. I felt a wave of anger and sadness. Once Emma was settled at the table with her pancakes, I turned to Lisa. "We need to talk. Now." Lisa looked startled by the seriousness in my voice. "What's wrong?" she asked, trying to act innocent. "In private," I said, gesturing toward the living room. She followed me, a look of concern crossing her face. "What's going on, Jake?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "I know about Greg." Her expression froze, her eyes darting to the side. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling just slightly. "I know everything," I said firmly. The texts, the late-night visits, Emma's little secret about Uncle Greg. How long has this been going on? Lisa's face turned pale. "Jake, it's not what you think," she stammered. "Don't lie to me," I snapped, my voice rising. "I saw the messages on your phone, Lisa. I watched Greg walk into this house last night and kiss you goodbye. So, again, how long has this been going on?" Tears welled up in her eyes, but they didn't soften my resolve. Finally, she broke. "A few months," she admitted quietly. "But it didn't mean anything. I swear, it didn't mean anything," I interrupted, my voice shaking with anger. "You lied to me, you betrayed me, and you dragged our daughter into this by parading Greg around in front of her. And you're telling me it didn't mean anything." Lisa started crying in earnest. "Jake, please, I didn't mean to hurt you, it just happened. I was feeling lonely and Greg was there and don't you dare blame this on me," I said, cutting her off. "I've been working my arse off to provide for this family, to give you and Emma the life you deserve, and this is how you repay me." She sank onto the couch, her face in her hands. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know how to stop it." I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to throw things, to lash out in every way possible. But I didn't. Instead, I turned and walked back into the kitchen, where Emma was still eating her breakfast. "Emma," I said gently, crouching down to her level. "Why don't you go play in your room for a little while, okay?" "Okay, Daddy," she said, her bright smile a stark contrast to the storm raging inside me. Once Emma was out of earshot, I returned to the living room. Lisa was still sitting on the couch, tears streaming down her face. "Here's what's going to happen," I said coldly. "You're going to pack a bag and leave. I don't care. Where you go. Stay with Greg for all I care. But you're not staying here. Not after what you've done." "Jake, please," she begged. "Can't we work this out? For Emma's sake." "For Emma's sake," I repeated, laughing bitterly. "You didn't think about Emma when you were sneaking around with Greg, did you?" "No, Lisa. We're done." Lisa tried to argue, but I held firm. Eventually, she gave up and went upstairs to pack a bag. When she came back down, I handed her Greg's number, which I had written on a piece of paper. "Call him," I said. "Let him take responsibility for you now." Lisa left without another word, her shoulders slumped in defeat. As the door closed behind her, I felt a strange mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and a sense of relief. But I knew the hardest part was yet to come. I still had to figure out how to move forward, for myself and for Emma. The days after Lisa left were a whirlwind of emotions. I oscillated between heartbreak, anger, and a strange sense of liberation. My biggest concern was Emma. I knew I needed to provide her with stability, no matter how shattered I felt inside. That night, As I tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at me with her big, curious eyes. "Where's Mommy?" she asked. I hesitated, unsure of how much to tell her. "Mommy had to go away for a little while," I said gently. "Is she coming back?" I swallowed hard. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I promise you, I'll always be here for you." She seemed to accept that for now, snuggling into her blanket. I kissed her forehead and left her room, vowing to make her happiness my top priority. Over the next few weeks, Lisa tried reaching out. At first, it was apologetic texts, begging for forgiveness. Then, it shifted to anger, accusing me of overreacting. Finally, she resorted to guilt-tripping, claiming that Emma needed her mother. I responded only once to make my stance clear. "You made your choice when you betrayed me. I'm focused on Emma now. You'll hear from my lawyer regarding custody arrangements." I hired a divorce attorney and started the process of untangling our lives. It was painful, especially as Lisa tried to fight for custody, but I refused to let her drag Emma into her mess. My lawyer assured me that Lisa's affair and abandonment would work in my favor. One day, I received an unexpected call from Greg. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. "Jake, listen," he began, his tone nervous. I feel like I need to apologize." "For what?" I snapped. "Sleeping with my wife? Or breaking up my family?" "I know I screwed up," he admitted. "But Lisa and it's over. She moved in with me, but it didn't work out. She's been staying at a friend's place. I thought you should know." I hung up without responding, disgusted by his attempt to clear his conscience. His words only solidified my decision to keep Lisa out of my life as much as possible. As time went on, I started to focus on rebuilding. I took some time off work to spend more time with Emma, making sure she felt loved and secure. We had movie nights, trips to the park, and even a weekend getaway to the beach. Her laughter was the balm I needed to heal. I also sought therapy, something I never thought I'd do. Talking to a professional helped me process my emotions and gain clarity. My therapist encouraged me to focus on my future rather than dwelling on the past. Months later, the divorce was finalized. I was granted primary custody of Emma, with Lisa allowed supervised visits. It was bittersweet, but I felt a sense of closure. Lisa tried one last time to reconcile, showing up unannounced at my doorstep. "Jake, please," she begged. "I've made so many mistakes, but I love you and Emma. Can't we start over?" I looked at her, feeling nothing but pity. "Lisa, you had a family who loved you, and you threw it away. I can't trust you anymore. This is the end." She left in tears, and I closed the door, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Over the next year, life gradually returned to a new kind of normal. I focused on being the best father I could be for Emma. I also started to open myself up to the idea of dating again, though cautiously. One evening, Emma and I were baking cookies together when she suddenly looked up at me. "Daddy, are you happy?" she asked. I paused, surprised by her question. Then I smiled and hugged her. "I am now," I said, because in the end, I realized that happiness didn't depend on anyone else. It came from building a life of love and honesty, one day at a time. What would you have done in Jake's situation? Do you think he made the right decisions, or would you have handled things differently? Let me know your thoughts.